Okay, hi everybody, and welcome back to What's the Tea with South Suburban Family Shelter. Again, if this is your first time watching, myself as well as my other great co-hosts, my co-workers, we come together and basically we interview different departments at our agency, different leaders that we partner with, and we just bring a lot of very great conversations to realistic topics. So if you are interested in ever watching this is always live, sometimes pre-recorded, but mostly live on Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Okay, so I am Angela Davis and I have my beautiful.
Hi everyone, I'm Celeste Angulo.
And then we have.
Hey everyone, I'm Zach Kapos, also a community educator.
Yes, so we are here today. We are going to be talking about healthy relationships, but not just any healthy relationships, right? We're going to be speaking about the negative aspects and kind of getting personal with some stories, okay? So I just want to first start off just by asking you all, just regarding healthy relationships. Have you ever had someone who modeled a healthy relationship in your life? And if so, who?
Well, I think I was very fortunate to have had a couple of people model it in my life. The first person who made a huge impact on my life when it comes to healthy relationships was, again, I think I've mentioned my sister for everything here, but so she basically taught me what a healthy relationship is. She was like a second mom to me. So even when I started dating, she would talk to me about what the warning signs are. And the one thing that I know she did taught me is just to always be yourself. So that's something that I really learned from her. And then when she was dating and got married, she really modeled a healthy relationship to me. She modeled communication, respect, boundaries, all those really important aspects. I saw them within her relationships, and I saw them when she talked to me about my own relationships. So that was really helpful to me growing up.
Yeah, I think I was fortunate as well. My parents were definitely healthy models for me. Um, Teamwork and problem solving and communicating and um, kind of just running a family and doing all the obstacle solving and things like that comes along with raising kids and things like that. So I was very fortunate for that, I would say, because we know coming from like a dating violence background, people often model the behaviors that they see, um, more likely than not, because there's less of, I think often we talked about this with the Father's Day episode. It's not always direct teachings. It's not always like, this is a very black and white thing. This is how it is. It's really, you know, as kids, they pick up, they're observing.
And that's funny that you said that because I was just going to ask, like, what are some healthy aspects or healthy relationships, not healthy relationships, but what are some healthy characteristics you've seen in these relationships that you apply to your own relationship? Like, where you look like, oh, my sister taught me that. Thanks, sis. Or, I know that came from my dad, or I know that came from my mom, and I do the same thing in my own relationship.
Well, like I mentioned before, always be yourself. I think that is a really big one, really important to always be yourself, just because that goes along with, other aspects as well. Once you're being yourself, then you're gonna express your boundaries. You're gonna do with problem solving. You're gonna be able to trust each other because you're being yourself and you're not faking it. But to me, I think the very most important aspect to a healthy relationship is actually respect, because I feel like that's where it all starts. Once you lose the respect, then everything else is kind of like a domino effect. So if you don't have respect, you're not going to have trust, you're not going to have good communication, you're not going to have boundaries. So respect to me is the most important.
Yeah, that's true. A lot of times we can say, oh, yeah, we want all of these things. And we're in a presentation like, what about the big R word? And they're like, oh, yeah. Like you said, it is a domino effect because if somebody respects you, I'm not going to disrespect you. I'm not going to hit you. I'm not going to be violent. It all plays a role within each other. What about you, Zach?
Okay, I want to not give just the answers that I always give. I want to switch it up here because I was thinking about the honeymoon phase. And so we talked about the cycle of violence where there's 3 steps. And after a violent incident or after a big fight, there's that honeymoon period where they return to normalcy. So I was thinking for healthy relationships, there's a much more greater sense of stability versus like there's all this volatility in unhealthy relationships often where it's never just going to be like bland and the same all the time. But I mean, we can all think of like people having like giant like Facebook fights, or they're airing all their public grievances out all the time, and it's a continuous cycle. So I was thinking a lot about the cycle of violence versus just like a general sense of calmness and just regularity.
That happens a lot. Like you would air your business out on Friday and then Monday they're like, oh, we're okay, we're good. It's like, no, ma'am, I just read all of y'all business last week. This is not okay. Like yeah, social media.
Yeah, exactly. And I think social media is probably adds more problems to, or at least adds more dynamics to relationships that people maybe don't consider right away.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I wanted to ask a question, if I can, maybe for you too. So we talked about the healthy aspects, but are there things that you think people don't consider to be unhealthy or abusive that maybe you think actually are?
I feel, and I don't know if you all can agree, when we give presentations in schools, it's like they can yell out physical abuse. And then when we start talking about emotional abuse, it just kind of quiet, because people don't deem, calling you out your name, that type of disrespect or cheating on you. They don't deem that as domestic violence because it's not physical. He or she, they're not hitting me, so a lot of times people will really settle to deal with those type of things in relationships because at least she not hitting me, at least he's not hitting me, so I really feel that that emotional and that mental aspect people really do not deem as domestic violence. Sometimes I would say property abuse, they don't really see or deem that as domestic violence because social media would have you thinking property abuse is just normal. How many times have you got on social media and you've seen somebody destroying something, or on Twitter or on TikTok, like it's seen as laughable now, or it's made as a mockery in a way. So I feel like people don't really take that in as being toxic or being violent as well. Like it doesn't matter if I bought Celeste some shoes. Like if me and Celeste disagrees, I shouldn't go and like destroy your shoes, like that's not healthy, So I would say those.
Yeah, just to kind of piggyback off of that, I definitely agree with you. Even when I, give DV 101s to domestic violence trainings to adults, a lot of people are surprised to hear that there's property abuse, emotional abuse is also considered domestic violence. But a lot of things that I find with youth is even I remember from when I was younger, I would notice, that a lot of youth think certain things are healthy in a relationship, where actually it could be a warning sign that this relationship is not healthy. So for example, too much attention. A lot of people would say, oh wow, my friend's boyfriend, gives her all the attention. I wish I had a boyfriend like that, or something like that. But it could actually be a warning sign, too much attention, needing to know, where you are all the time, or always texting you. It could seem like something that you want from a relationship, especially when you're younger. It seems romantic or, whatever, but it could actually be a warning sign that it's not a healthy relationship because you need each other's space. So one thing that I actually encountered growing up with a friend of mine is, we were young. She had just started dating her boyfriend, and her boyfriend told her that he was going to marry her. And so then this is something that I actually thought was sweet back in the day. I'm like, oh, he knows he's going to marry you. It must be so special to him. Right. But, when you're barely dating somebody, that's not something that yet. It usually isn't. So that was also, I feel like, a warning sign. That's something that I've learned now.
No, that makes a lot of sense, because sometimes people like when you know, And, so I could see how that could be really seen as a warning sign, especially when you speak to the aspect of, needing to know where you are at all times. Or a lot of teens talk about, no, I need the social media passwords to everything, or needing the location. Is that being necessary sometimes? Could it be seen as unhealthy? Could it be seen as healthy? Like there's pros and cons to each thing. Definitely.
So let's talk about something else. So what if someone isn't sure whether their relationship is healthy or not healthy? What advice can we give them to help them try and figure it out?
Want to take this one first, Zach?
Yes, sure. This is a hard one, but I'm going to try. I was thinking if they're unsure whether it's healthy or unhealthy, to think like, do I have the ability to disagree? Do I have the ability to make my own decisions and take personal space? I think that would be a big one, because if you can't really have your own opinions, then it's going to be it's probably not looking good.
I agree. I also think sometimes when we are dating someone, we tend to like the outer appearance a lot without really seeing what's in this relationship. So I feel that if you're not sure if you're in a healthy relationship, you should sit down, put your pen in your paper, and you need to write down the things that you like about this person and the things that you don't like about this person, because sometimes you have to really see it on paper. Looking at that, I mean, it just works better once you really sit down, because sometimes the bad outweighs the good and you didn't really even know. Or if you're sitting there struggling for 10 minutes to write down something that you really like, is this person very caring? Are they supportive? Do they listen to you? If you can't write these things down, also too, we can use the wheel that we use. Look at the wheel, see if there is a lot of unhealthy aspects in this person. Do they have trustworthy issues? Is there a lot of disrespect and violence in the home? And like what's going on with them that also plays a role in your relationship. So I think that's another thing, because when you listen to a lot of teenagers, it's like, oh yeah, I like them because they give me a lot of attention, like Celeste says. Okay, what else? They're on a football team and I'm a cheerleader. Okay, what else? Then you're stuck. That's not considered to be a healthy relationship. So yeah.
I really like the idea of and that's actually something that I've done before is just bring out a piece of paper, write down all the good things about your relationship or about the person that you're dating, and then all the bad things. And definitely if the negative outweighs the positive, there something needs to be done. So you need to look a little closer into that relationship. So this can be for dating relationships as well as friendships.
That's very true. That's very true, because a lot of times, we hold on to the amount of time we've known someone, so for instance, if I've known Zach for 5 years, Zach's been my friend for 5 years, but has Zach been a good friend? Has Zach continuously stole from me or lied to me? But I would use that. Well, we've known each other since so-and-so, our friends, our family are really close. You would kind of use that to hang on to a friendship or a relationship as well.
And if I could add just one more to the question, I would say also look and see, like, do you like the person that you're becoming? Since you've been in a relationship with that person, like you could kind of think like, I used to be this way. Am I changing for the better? Because you probably should be.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true.
So next question. Do you think that we can unlearn unhealthy characteristics? So I'll go ahead and let Angie take that one to start off.
And yeah, so I definitely think yes. I think yes, for the simple fact that, my favorite thing to say is just the first relationship you see is in the household, you know. So if I grew up in a household and always seen, you know, my mom disrespect dad, and that's how she was able to gain power in the household, and then I grew up using that same tactic, you know, I can unlearn that. That's what we have these partner abuser intervention courses for, because we help people unlearn these morals and values. That's what Bro is for, to help these students see things from a different perspective. You know, we can even use ourselves. I mean, no offense, parents, you know, but there's a lot of things that we may have learned in the household. Then as you get older, you're like, nah, I don't agree with that. No, my mind definitely changed on that, you know, because as you start forming your own family, you start having your own morals, values, traditions, you start seeing things really in a different light. So I really feel that we can unlearn it, you know, but if you've been acting the same way for 5, 10 years, it's going to take some work. You know, you really have to put in some work to really see where that went wrong, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and we see it with the PAPE program that we have here. People make huge changes, and some people were probably doing those behaviors for 5 to 10 years, oftentimes too, and they're able to change. So definitely think so. I think of like I think of one time I saw like my text, like I found my old phone and I was just like reading through my text, and it wasn't anything like too bad or too crazy, but just like the way I was communicating, it was, you know, it's like you learn to be a little bit more clear, and you learn to like consider other people, like what are they doing and how does this affect them, what I'm saying and what I'm doing, a little bit more as you get older, um, and reflect a little bit more, be a little bit more conscious about your words and actions.
That's what I was just gonna say. And unlearning unhealthy characteristics, not just saying we're violent or something. We're not saying that, you know, just certain jokes. You start learning, you start being more aware. You unlearn that unhealthy characteristics to maybe crack jokes on a certain topic that now you deem as insensitive, you know, things like that. So it could be simple things in that nature that you can definitely unlearn, because as you become more aware, as you get around other people and you learn more, and you open your mind to more knowledge. That's the thing. You have to want to learn to be able to do better, because once you know better, then you're able to do so. Some people really just don't know better. Some people never heard about domestic violence in their life, you know, until we came in, and then something went off, you know. So you have to really be a sponge a lot in life to really soak those things up, because if you're just going through life like, yeah, whatever my mama said to hit you, then you're just not gonna get far in life if you just have that mindset of, well, that's what I was taught, so that's what I'm sticking with. I don't want to learn nothing.
Yeah, I could not have phrased that any better. You know, a lot of people were just raised in a way where they thought, you know, they learned to normalize this type of behavior. But when they, you know, it's kind of like a big shock to them when they see that things can be done differently, and you're going to get a lot farther in life, in your relationships, and so many different things if you behave differently. So that's really interesting. But moving on, let's talk about celebrities and how they're being portrayed, because a lot of celebrities are looked at as couple goals, but there's a lot of toxic behaviors within their relationships. So do you think that society tries showcasing healthy, or how do you think society tries showcasing healthy relationships?
I don't know. Zach, you might have to help me with this. I don't know, because in a way, I agree. It's a lot of couples that are seen as couple goals, but now the question is, what makes somebody couple goals? You know, is it just the status because you both sing or you rap or they're an actress and they got money, or is couple goals somebody that's taking care of the family, getting degrees, you know, building, buying houses, or building, that's fine, you can build houses too, you know, but any of that, you know, what deems somebody as couple goals, you know. So I know before this, we were talking about a situation with Jada Pinkett and Will, you know, when the whole entanglement situation, you know, Zach and I were saying, yeah, we remember that, you know, was it deemed healthy and necessary to take it to the red table to spread your business, or was this marketing, you know? So is that deemed as, oh, they have great communication and they sat down and was able to talk about it, that man looked distraught. He looked like he wanted to cry right then and there and just walk off, so what's deemed healthy anymore, and I bring up different things such as Rihanna and Chris Brown, they were deemed as couple goals. And then that abuse situation happened and everybody's still like, but I love Chris Brown, so it's like it was considered to be healthy. So I don't know. What do you think, Zach?
The Will Smith thing really stood out to me. It was kind of mixed. It was like on the one hand, it was healthy because they were like trying to get to the truth, I think, and they were like
But why
really.
you got to do it in front of on Facebook streaming? So it's different things like that.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. It's, why does everyone need to see it? Well, maybe because they're celebrities, so we're always looking to these people who we don't even know for couple goals, as you were saying, but maybe it's better off finding people who are more realistic, like kind of going off what you're saying as well, a more realistic relationship, not just people who just rake in all this money for singing talent and things like that. Yeah, maybe it would have been better to be a private conversation.
Yeah. I mean, it's like with the celebrities and social media and just, all that, with it's just what they portray, how they make money. It's hard to really tell what's healthy or not because half the time, is this just a relationship for show or is it real? You never know, but you never know what somebody is going through behind closed doors. Somebody can have all the things, even a regular person can have all the things and be put together, but probably behind closed doors, there is domestic violence going on. So it's kind of really hard to speak to that. But I do think that teens and adolescents should also just be very careful of who they are looking up to.
Yeah, because they say social media is like the highlight reel, right? And people think of it more so like vacations and things like that we were talking about, but probably also relationships. And then someone has a relationship and they think, well, maybe we should just break up because we have a problem.
Right, right. That's very true. So I have a question for you. Do you what is some advice you have for teens and adolescents? What if I grew up in a household and I wasn't taught that this is what good communication is? Maybe I didn't see mom and dad problem solve and work together and cook dinner in the kitchen every day. So what is some advice you have for someone that is forming these healthy boundaries and friendships or relationships as they get older?
So I could think of several things, but I think the most important advice that I'd like to give is that, there's no specific, concrete definition of what a healthy relationship is going to be for you because every person is different. So you might have a friend who, has different boundaries than what your boundaries are. So I just think the most important thing is just to listen to yourself, listen to your instinct. And, if you're not comfortable in a situation or in a relationship, then you need to look a little bit closer at what the problem might be. But every single person, whatever couple goals means to you is definitely different for, the next person, or whatever your boundaries are, or whatever it is that you want out of a relationship is different. So that's something that you really have to learn about yourself. You have to respect yourself and learn about yourself before you even go into any type of dating relationship. It's really important to just respect yourself and know yourself.
And that kind of go back to what your sister taught you growing up, being true to you. Because when you're true to you and when you know yourself, then you know what it is you won't deal with, what it is you will deal with. You know your boundaries. Because if you're out here not knowing yourself, you may just deal with anything just to have some type of relationship.
Exactly. And then I know a lot of people who have been victims of domestic violence started off by having low self-esteem. So I think that's something really important as well, is to work on your own self-esteem. It's always important to work on yourself before anything. It starts with you.
Yep. And then also know, even for those that are out there that like, well, I don't have low self-esteem, not talking to me. you can still get into an abusive relationship. Sometimes you are charmed. You know, we always talk about that. Somebody is very charmable and you end up getting into a situation that you didn't know may happen. You know, so it's just very important, again, to listen to those warning signs, because sometimes when you really like somebody, it's just like, yeah, this and this and this is wrong, but I like them though. But they're going to do right by me, you know, and that's not always the case
Yeah.
Oh, and they're going to change, right?
without putting the work in to change.
Yeah, I agree with both of you there. And then just kind of going off what you said with the charming and kind of being fooled by that. So I guess my one advice would be just go slow, because I mean generally people are getting married a lot later anyway. So it's not like you're in a big rush to get married. I think maybe like 50 years ago it was much more common to like be like a high school sweetheart couple who gets married at like age 20. But if you saw that now, you'd probably be like surprised.
But
You would at least be surprised. There's nothing wrong with it, but you definitely wouldn't probably expect it or think it's the norm. So yeah, no, I don't think there's a huge rush towards anything.
no, that's very true. Like you really have to get to know somebody. You know, like it takes time, because that honeymoon stage, even in a non-abusive relationship, there's still a honeymoon stage, still a way a person will act in the beginning of that relationship. So you're just rushing into things, and then you don't even know how this person is when they get mad, when they get sad, you know, when they go through things, then you're surprised. And then, you know, that's how there could be divorces going on or bad relationships ending, because you don't even know this person.
Yeah, you know what's funny is that when I was growing up, I've always been so into psychology and the way the brain works and all. So when I was growing up, when I was 16, 17 years old, and I'd catch myself, trying to make decisions that probably I shouldn't make. I always tell myself, my brain is not fully developed yet. I'm not thinking as an adult. So I know this isn't the way most, teenagers think, but I think it is important to know that you are not, you're not fully mature yet. You're going to think differently when you're in your 20s than you do now. So, maybe ask for some advice, talk to an adult. It's definitely really important to have that trustworthy adult who is there for you, and who you can talk to and, be open about things.
Yeah, and I'm sure they're watching this like, no, ma'am, nope. We got taught the same thing, and when we did it, it worked out. So now we can tell you. Is there anything else you all like to say or convey about this topic? Any last minute words?
I don't think so. I don't think I have anything else that I'd want to say. Just be yourself.
Okay. Well, we do want to thank you all so much just for tuning in and just supporting us again. Tell your friends, tell your family, pass along the word, because I think we have pretty good conversations on here. So we just want to say thank you so much. And like we always say, same time, same place, different tea. Thank you.
Bye,
Thanks for
everyone.